Well, hello there, everybody. I'm very glad to be here today, and I'm hoping that we'll have a few people who are going to be joining us. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I'm Lindsay Masvaleix, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Caroline Hargrave. I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of time to join us. So myself and Caroline can just have a brief chat between ourselves whilst people enter and get ready to join us. I was going to say, Caroline, to anybody who is here today, who's joining in with our conversation, that to absolutely please do give us a comment if you're there. It'd be nice to know where you're joining from. If anybody's, we've got quite a large community, haven't we now, of people overseas and further afield. So please feel free to comment. And more importantly today, please don't hesitate to ask myself and Caroline any questions if they arise. We're just going to have a chat between the two of us, but I will have my eye on the comments. And if anybody has anything burning that they'd like to ask, I always say no question's a silly question, and that's exactly why we're here today. We both have quite a lot in common, don't we, Caroline? We do. Well, first of all, we're both from sunny Essex, which up until the live recording was really sunny, but of course the sun's just gone in. But we're both from Essex. We both met each other when we were training with SIRPA, which is how we gravitated towards each other and found each other. I think one of the major things we have in common, which is why we're here today, is that myself and Caroline both have a history of overcoming chronic back pain, plus some other symptoms. And I think the last thing that we really have in common is that we're both very, very passionate about the mind-body work that we do and helping others overcome living with chronic pain conditions. So, Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, hi, I'm Caroline, and yeah, as Lindsay said, from Essex, and yeah, I came across this work because I myself had chronic back pain in varying degrees, from mildish to pretty damn severe over years, and yeah, so that was kind of where it all started. Like it's quite common. Had odd little back spasms here and there that would put me out of action for a few weeks. Then I'd get back on with my life.
Yeah.
Then I'm not entirely sure what year it was. It was about 15, 16 when I had a real doozy, hit the floor, and I felt like I was out the game. And it went on and on and on, and it was relentless. Did all the usual physios, osteos. I've been seeing an osteo for years anyway. Painkillers up to my eyeballs. And I'd have better days, not so good days. After, dealing with it for sort of 6 to 8 months, had MRIs. And like lots of people, there was degeneration, osteoarthritis, bulging discs, which all sounds very scary. But for anyone else who's had similar, it's not that scary when you know that that's quite normal. But when you don't know that, it sounds horrendous and scary, and it makes symptoms even worse. So that's where I went. I got worse. I was told not to do a lot. I was only going to get worse, which is awful to hear when you're still quite young and have a family to look after.
So, Caroline, how old were you when all of this was going on, just to set the scene?
I think it was, late 30s.
Yeah.
So my dates.
Yeah.
I try not to dwell on that time too much, so the dates aren't very good, but probably late 30s, I would say.
Yeah.
So, And so after, being really scared and just looking everywhere out of desperation. And at this time, it was quite odd, though, because we're talking about the mind and body, but emotions had started to bubble under the surface. I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
My past stuff was starting to bubble up at this time, and I was thinking, oh, that's kind of strange, you know, shove that back down. And didn't really think too much of it. And then, as you are when you're scouring the internet for yet another supplement or cushion or pillow or
another prop.
Yeah, exactly, trying to get some relief somewhere. I came across Dr. Sarno's work.
Okay.
Read the book.
Yeah.
And just thought, he's written that book for me. Really.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you were one of the people that read that book, and you immediately connected with what was being written. Yeah, because it's very common for people to read books on this subject matter and for them to reject it initially, because let's face it, this concept for a lot of people is completely different. It's completely new. So that's really interesting that you, as part of your recovery, as part of your journey, that something instinctively, ignited a flame of interest, and you connected with that. But I'm just going to say, we've got some people joining, so hello everybody, really lovely to see you. Shirley said hello Shirley, very nice for you to be with us today. If anybody else would like to say hello, please let us know you're there, but we'll carry on chatting, and we'll carry on with what we're doing, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have. So Caroline, so how long, hello Jodie, Jodie said hello. How long would you say in that case that you lived with your back pain?
It was the last one that was probably a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, you know, my poor daughter had to help me dry and get dressed and put my socks on in the morning and all sorts of embarrassing things, and which doesn't make you feel good as a mother. And so I think again, after picking up the book, I read it, resonated with it, then carried on as normal with all the supplements and the insoles and the cushions, and but then I came back to it, thankfully, but wasn't really sure where to go. I wasn't one of these, you know, 1 in a million that can read the book and is like, fabulous, that's what it is. Get my life. It's very, very rare, I think.
And as we now know, having been through the training with SIRPA and work with Georgie and the amazing community that we have, is that there are so many different layers as to why we might be experiencing that pain. And it's about working through it, isn't it? But basically on and off, pretty much, you know, most of your adult life, let's say, you were living with bouts of back pain, and if not ongoing. And did you, just out of interest, did you have any other what we now call either TMS symptoms or mind body symptoms or sensations in the body? So what other, just out of interest, because people listening might be like, well, it's not just my back, it's this, it's that.
Ankle pain, wrist pain, where my wrist would be, you know, I'll be out of action for a couple of weeks while that would set off and I couldn't lift a kettle.
Oh gosh,
intermittent migraines, knee pain, IBS, heart palpitations.
So you ticked a lot of boxes, didn't you? There was a lot going on, and for anyone who's new to this, you know, and new to this journey, is that, and I found too, once I found this approach to healing from chronic pain, that you know, some of the symptoms that I was experiencing, I would not even have thought could have possibly in a million years be connected to this. But like you, back pain was the main one for me, but I also had a myriad of all sorts of let's just say weird and wacky things that were happening in my body. We've got a question from Lynn. Hi there, Lynn. Lynn's asking, which book did you read first? So which one did you read first, Caroline?
Well, the very first one was the Healing Back Pain. But it's no. There's not a lot of science in that. It's very, it's a great intro. I love The Divided Mind.
And this is Dr. Sarno, isn't it?
But I think there's lots of books that resonate with me. Gabor Mate, I love his work because to do with trauma and all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
His books are fabulous.
They're exceptional, yeah. They're really thought-provoking, and he's just such an incredible presence in this work, isn't he? So,
absolutely.
I can help with this as well, Lynn, because I mean, thankfully, this work is now growing. There are some absolutely fantastic books, on this subject matter. Like Caroline, at first, I think I did probably dip into some of Dr. Sarno's work, which was really informative and very eye-opening. I also, Georgie's book, so Georgie Oldfield's book, I'm sure you're aware of who Georgie is, the founding director of SIRPA. Her book is likewise really, it's really good because it covers off obviously the premise behind the way in which we work with clients and the different levels and the different things that we just have to consider when we're working through overcoming that pain. And also I do think Alan Gordon's book as well, The Way Out, is very accessible to people who are new, particularly when we're talking, let's say, neuroplastic pain. Hi there, Colin. Colin's saying hello. Nice of you to join us. I think Alan's book is also, I think if you're trying to introduce the scientific element, the medical research and the scientific stance on this work, he presents it in a really digestible, and it doesn't blind you. The science doesn't blind you. He himself also had years and years and years. I think back pain was one of the things he had, but he had chronic symptoms as well. If you go on to Lynn, if you go on to the SIRPA website, or actually I can leave mine and Caroline's details on my website. There's a list of resources. So there are a list of books which I recommend. So I'm happy to pop our details at some point during the chat if I can try and multitask between doing this and typing things in. But I will do that for you before the end of the chat so that you might be able to click in and find those. So I hope that helps. So Caroline, shall I give my synopsis, or it might be useful if I just quickly introduce why I'm here. Why am I talking to everyone about this? So very similar to Caroline. When it was quite funny, I was thinking about this morning. When you enter in this work, and I did follow the online program with SIRPA, the pain recovery program, which I'm sure some people are familiar with here or might have done. I needed a little bit of extra help in my journey. So I then went on to work with a coach. Part of that was really working through a timeline, looking at symptoms, looking at the different symptoms. And I always say still, well, I had, ongoing or chronic back pain for about 10 years. But actually, when I thought about it this morning and I referred back to my timeline, I actually did get back pain and back issues as early on as like being 20 years old. I remember being at college and just doing something really, nothing remotely physical, and dropping to the ground because my back had a spasm essentially. So when I think about it, actually my back's, been speaking to me for a long time, shall we say. So mine, similar to Caroline, mine really decided to play up, if you like, after I had my first baby. About 6 to 8 months after I first had my first child, my back just seized completely, and it was absolutely terrifying. I don't think I'd ever experienced pain like it in my life, and I bounced back from that. I did the usual, as we said. I did go and see a physio, and I bounced back, and I thought, oh, it's just one of those things, and off we go. And then a few months later it would happen again. And then it would become more serious, and it would knock me off my feet for longer periods of time. And it would do this, come and go until the fear started to be, when I identified that pain, then I became very frightened of it because it was just so awful. And then eventually it just never went. One day it just decided to stay with me. I'm just going to be there all day, every day. And meanwhile, I have to say, I never stopped working. At that point in my life, just to set the scene, I had a full-time job. I'd been given a lot more responsibility in my job. I had 2 beautiful, healthy children, but if anyone's had kids, you know where I'm coming from. It's full on. I think it was really like a culmination of different factors as to why my pain suddenly just basically went off the Richter scale, just didn't leave me. So I would get home from work and it was the best that I could do to put dinner on, get kids' lunch boxes done before I just have to lay flat on my back. And the only safe position that I felt like I had at the time was to lay flat on my back. And even then it would wake me up in the middle of the night and go, I'm still here, by the way, don't get too comfortable. So very much like Caroline, I did all the things that rightly so you should do. You should always obviously seek medical advice, but I did all of these things: doctors, physio, acupuncture, osteopaths, you name it, pain clinics, until in the end I had an MRI, which like Caroline was a very similar diagnosis. So disc degeneration, bulging discs, sacroiliac joint dysfunction, all very scary things to be told, very frightening, told exactly the same as Caroline, that's it really, that's it, I'm afraid, Lindsay, just get on with your life, just manage it now, and maybe do a bit of Pilates, which when you can barely breathe without being in agony, that doesn't cut the mustard. So does it, Caroline? Yeah, so like Caroline, one day I was very fortunate. I had been seeing an osteopath who had been doing some training with SIRPA, and she suggested very kindly that I might like to have a look at the SIRPA website. And just like Caroline, when she found John Sarno's book, I found the website. I looked, I think, immediately some of the case studies of other people talking, which is another reason why I'm so keen to share my story, and so is Caroline. Because when I looked at those case studies and I listened to those other people, I just saw myself reflected, and I just instinctively knew deep down inside that there was something in this. So that's how I came to find it. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. I thought it might be useful, if you're all in agreement, that myself and Caroline maybe talk about the things that we found most helpful, or the things that we connected with the most, in terms of how we then went from having this hideous pain to coming out the other side, and to dialing all of that down, and really truthfully and honestly going back to active, happy, healthy lives. So Caroline, would you like to start? I know this sometimes is a difficult one to answer, but yeah, because there's so much involved and everybody's so unique. And that's the other thing here, everyone who's listening, is that, no one story of recovery is ever going to be the same. We come to this with our own tapestry of life, our own experiences, our own personalities, and all of these things have such a huge factor in how we recover. But yeah, Caroline, fire away, see if you can delve back to this moment and share what comes to mind, really.
I think the biggest thing initially, and you'd probably agree with me here, is the knowledge, learning about the brain, the nervous system, and being able to go, that makes sense. That makes so much sense, because that gives you tiniest little bit of control that you need in your life at that time. Like, oh, that's what's going on. Still, it takes work. It's not easy. You can't just go, I know this, I'm going to get back out and get on my life. But the knowledge, that all of our pain is created by our brain, and you think, that's weird, you never learned that before. And knowing about our nervous system, I think delving into childhood, which I always said was fabulous. Majority of it was fabulous, but there's also a huge chunk of my childhood that put my nervous system on high alert very early. You carried that right through. And I'm still quite a highly sensitive person, but I know how to manage it now. So,
and also, I think a huge part of this work is accepting yourself, also. Because, like you, I also found that when you enter into this work, I always say to people, I absolutely understand why you're coming to see me. I know that you really want to get rid of this pain. I understand that 100%. But a huge part of this journey is really learning to understand yourself, what makes you tick, accepting yourself really as you are, which is not an easy thing to do, but it's a hugely compassionate way of dealing with yourself and looking after yourself. So yeah, and I agree, the education for me, it was the message that, hey, they might have said this to you, you've got this MRI, this person's, you know, said to you in their opinion, that's what it is, that's what's causing this pain. But actually it was so empowering, and to acknowledge and to truly believe and take on board, look, I'm not damaged, you know, I can recover from this, and you know, I'm going to like, you know, I'm going to embrace this, no matter, you know, how hard that journey might be, one end to the other. So anything else, Caroline? So obviously the education and you know, understanding neuroplastic pain.
Yeah, hugely. I think the hardest part was accepting the pain and any symptom, even in my everyday life now. If I can accept it, or anyone can accept what's going on in their body and not fear it or try and push it away, it's likely to resolve a lot quicker. So I think once I actually got to the acceptance part, that's definitely dialed things down. Loads and loads and loads of journaling, get rid of all the past stuff and present stuff and life stuff and work stuff and relationships and every little thing. And the more you start to offload and go into the emotional part of the journaling, and more and more comes up. So even if you think there's not a lot there, I can guarantee you there's at least 4 times as much there.
Exactly.
You go through.
It's so deep rooted, and it's obviously it's in the subconscious. Yeah. And
just learning, you know, make mistakes. I found things that helped me initially. Journaling to start with, because I did the online course, I didn't have the extra support, so it's a little bit trial and error. I wasn't as honest in my first bit of work I did. I still a bit like, yeah, well, it was all right. Well, yeah, it was great. I didn't mind. They can do what they like, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I was really honest, and this is why I love, for anyone who's interested at all, Nicole Sacks's work. She does a great podcast, because she really makes you and gets you to understand how you have to get to know that part of you that you don't want to face, that we've all got inside of us, and come to terms with that and accept that, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not bad, it's not good, it's just what it is. And so that helped amazingly. Timeline, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I suffered with an eating disorder for 20 plus years. I'd been hospitalized, seen psychotherapists, couldn't ever get to the bottom of it. And actually doing this work, and I wasn't trying to sort that, but that resolved itself. It was
absolutely,
again, gradually, that was another part of, you know, which I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, it's a hugely healing process, isn't it? Which is exactly why we say this, if you know, follow some simple steps and are prepared to delve a little bit deeper, and you're happy to do that self-development work, is what we're really talking about. It's not just the pain, the physical pain, it really is the emotional pain that's dealt with, and it's just so empowering, and it's really liberating, isn't it, to go through that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm trying to think things that helped me that I didn't expect. I would say affirmations I poo-pooed. I was like, what on earth? But when I started to get physical again, they helped me, because they took my mind off the worrying. They gave me something to focus on, strengthen myself mentally. And I had plenty ready, so when I started to try and run again or do something a bit different, I was quite amazed at how much that helped.
It's really good at keeping, as you said, it's really good at keeping that mindset in the right place, isn't it? Keep you focused on what you're doing. Brilliant. And got a lovely comment from Zoe. Zoe's a fabulous SIRPA trooper. And she said, lovely to see you both sharing your journey so honestly and helping others to regain their lives. Thank you, Zoe. And it's lovely that SIRPA has given us this opportunity. We're really grateful. Caroline, shall I share a few bits?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're happy with that? If anything else comes up, just let me know. I mean, very honestly, very similar to Caroline. I think, yes, the understanding and the educational aspect behind what neuroplastic pain is, how we get it, why we get it. So the science behind it was really helpful. This is very helpful, particularly when you look at the personality traits that we find with a lot of people who do have mind-body conditions, because a lot of us are very analytical. We are thinkers. We potentially are guilty of overthinking and analysing. So I think the pain science can be really useful, and and it's absolutely necessary to get you on your way. I think for me, though, in all honesty, I think the dealing with repressed, suppressed, oppressed emotions, this is the bit where I find people can sometimes get a little bit twitchy or nervous, because obviously when we start to talk about emotions, the very reason that we are getting the symptoms we're getting in the first place is because we are burying stuff deep down, because it's just too painful for us to acknowledge, emotionally painful. But doing that work, going there in a safe place, enabling yourself to calm your nervous system down so that you don't, obviously go into a state of overwhelm, is so important. And I think when I learned how to safely acknowledge my emotions and safely express my emotions, then I really started to see a big difference in the pain reduction. And I think it all kind of came, layer upon layer upon layer. But I do think, yes, also for me, the journaling, Shirley saying that she found that journaling really helps her. And I think it does, because as Caroline said, you can really, go to town, let it all out. There's all sorts of different sorts of journaling that we can do. There's, Caroline, I'm sure you've done both too, but there's obviously journaling. We do look at past circumstances or past situations where basically at that time, we just didn't have the voice. We just couldn't vocalize how we really felt. We probably couldn't even allow ourselves at the time, because it's a protective mechanism. You're protecting yourself
from childhood as well, because as a child you don't have a voice, do you? So exactly. So you can go back and in a safe environment again, which is why it's so great that we learn how to do this with online course, or you work safely with a coach, where you can have, we can give you very unique ways of safely approaching this, so that you feel comfortable to sit with your emotions, to allow them, not to stuff them down and repress them, which is obviously what's fueling the pain. So those suppressed emotions are the things which are, triggering that brain into a protective mechanism, whizzing through your nervous system essentially, and causing that real pain that you're feeling. So I personally also come from, in my past, when I was younger, I had a real creative side to me, and when I grew up, life got very boring. Very serious, with a lot of responsibility, and part of my journey was I wasn't having enough fun. Okay, so my life had become serious, quite boring, very stressful, in the sense that the environment that I was working in was causing me stress, the way I was reacting to it. Obviously, this is all about stress-induced illness. So I also readdressed the balance of what was going on in my life, which I would never have thought of before. And allowing myself time, giving myself time. So, you picture the scene, this is just me, but there I was, first thing in the morning, getting the kids to nursery. Meanwhile, with crippling back pain, getting them to nursery, walking to the station for half an hour, commuting, sitting on a train. Anyone who commutes knows that it's just horrible anyway. It's just so stressful. And then getting to work and having a really demanding day where I had a lot of responsibility, and I was the person who had to answer all the questions. Come home, blah, blah, blah. It's a real melting pot. I never had a moment to myself. I never had a moment. I just didn't have a moment until the minute I shut my eyes.
I was constantly tired. I was constantly getting colds, and I had lots of back pain. And when I readdressed that, and I said simple steps, giving myself some time, allowing myself to journal, or allowing myself to do some relaxation or some gentle exercise. I now have found running, which I would never have done before. I just wouldn't have done it. And now I go off and I just run and I just love it. So yeah, lots of different things, lots of different elements, not just one element for me, but lots of different elements. But if anybody else has any questions about this, or they would like to comment, there, like Shirley said, she found journaling really helpful, which is fantastic. If anyone else is trying any of this, or is interested in trying some of this, or is not sure, just let me know in the comments. But yeah, lots of different things, but really fundamentally getting an understanding of myself and why I'm reacting to things the way that I am. So dealing with what my triggers were, what that internal pressure cooker was doing, stress-induced illness. It doesn't have to be an external factor necessarily actually that's causing that stress. Caroline, I'm not sure about you, but when I learned about the personality traits, self-induced stress was something that that was me full on. So can you think Yeah.
Still to this day, I find myself, because as much work as you do, I still find myself just every now and then I just kind of revert slightly, but now my body gives me a kick up backside, and it's like, oh yeah, you've just gone a little bit off course again, and I'll just so I do have still a lot of self-induced pressure, which I'm aware of now.
Yeah.
So I can offload, I can go and have a meditate, I can have a nice hot bath, I can calm my nervous system down in a myriad of ways. And okay, that's fine. And recenter myself almost and reset again. So yeah, absolutely. It's
so you've learned how to do that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And what would you say?
Sorry,
no, go on, carry on, Caroline.
Say, like, as you go through this and you start to get better, and I think we all need what we'd call in our SIRPA training the aha moment, where a pain comes on and it's that first time where you don't immediately go physical. You go, what was I just talking about? What was I just thinking about? What's happened today, yesterday? What's happening tomorrow? And you go, oh, that's what's upsetting me. That's what's stressing me out. That's what I'm not dealing with. And that little pain or whatever niggles has popped up just ebbs away. And then, you've hit that magic, and you're like, I think that is that's the point everyone, I think, wants to almost get to completely reiterate.
Exactly.
This is the right thing to be doing, isn't it? So yeah.
And also, I think it's really important, like we've spoken about the self-induced pressures. Jodie's got a question for us, which I'm going to read out in a minute, Jodie, and we're going to address for you. But I think it's really important that there's an element of, there can be, it's natural, you're following this program or you're following this way of life because you really want to get rid of those symptoms. And there's an element sometimes that people naturally, it's no one's fault. They're pushing, they want it so much, that's who they are as a person. I'm working so hard, I'm reading all the books and I'm doing everything, and I think it's learning, isn't it, to listen to what's going on internally, to realize, to address personality trait, I'm pushing too hard, I'm trying to be too perfect, I'm trying to do this right, or is there a right way, and am I doing it the wrong way? And the honest answer is there is no right, there is no wrong. It's about being curious and playful and having a go at these different things until you find something, as Caroline said, that you add to your toolkit. So this is I'm going to answer Jodie's question, which is part and parcel of this part of the conversation. So she says, Jodie says, what methods would you use to calm your nervous system down? Well, there's lots of different ones, but Caroline, do you want to start off, and then I can
well, I think the most obvious is any kind of breath work. I tend to use more of a parasympathetic stimulating one. So, you know, breathe in 4, hold 5, out 6.
Yeah.
And I really love psychological sighs, where you breathe in again, and let it out.
Yeah.
Probably other than breath work, things like humming, stimulate your vagus nerve. I quite enjoy doing that when I'm on my own, especially if I'm in the car. Yeah, just taking time out for myself. If I know I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, if I can get away, get out in nature, lay down, listen to something relaxing. And that's just, you know, off the top of my head, things that I would probably go to first. So I don't know about you. What would,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So when Jodie says, what methods do you use to calm your nervous system down? I think it's, for me, I think it's almost like part of your body and soul prescription, if you like. That's how I'm going to put it. In the medical world, if we had, let's say, a sore toe, someone might say, rub some cream on this 3 times a day, and you'd absolutely do it religiously. So with calming the nervous system down, this takes time, it takes practice, and it's something that is really necessary. And one part of this, for me personally, that I do practice daily. And so how do I do that? How do I calm my system down? It could be that this is in response to the pain itself. So I'm going to take 2 scenarios. If you are aware that you're agitated or fearful or feeling scared because of the symptoms themselves, then I would say primarily it's about, you know, how you can send messages of safety to yourself, how you can reassure yourself with what you're learning. And forgive me, Jodie, because I'm not sure how long you know, you've been introduced to this work, but I would always say it's time and time again, it's reminding yourself. And really, actually, Caroline said about finding an affirmation. Some people do find a sentence, just a few.
oh, you appear to have frozen, Lindsay. Well, I will just carry on talking for a little bit. Hopefully Lindsay can unfreeze herself. Yeah, talking about calming the nervous system, and I think she was talking about affirmations. So having one, if you are suffering with any kind of pain, you can find an affirmation that resonates with you. The idea is that if you have a symptom and you know you're feeling quite nervous, anxious, fearful, then you need to be able to calm the nervous system down, send messages of safety, so you can speak messages of safety to yourself. Be accepting, be soothing, not try to fight a symptom. If you're talking in just general terms, you know, as long term, trying to keep your nervous system a little bit calmer, a bit like mine's going now because Lindsay's disappeared. Yeah, it's all about feeling safe, and whatever makes you feel safe, whether that's from grounding, feet on the floor, looking around you, things you can see, smell, taste, calming yourself down, any symptoms that crop up. You need to be able to almost face them in a nice calm and relaxed way, so that you don't get fear and overwhelmed and keep your nervous system on high alert. You've got to be able to just calm everything down a little bit. There is plenty more, and I'm sure Lindsay would love to be here chatting away. Slightly lost now. I can't see any of the comments because that's Lindsay's job. I'm hoping she will be back soon. So yeah, obviously I'll just carry on a little bit my story. I came across SIRPA, and quite sure how I did that actually. One of those random life events that's meant to happen, I think. I did the online program after speaking to Georgia on the phone. I think at the time, this is quite a while ago, and it has been updated since, and it took about 3 months to work through. And I would say, in my mind, I was going to do 3 months and I was going to be fixed and cured and everything would be wonderful. But I now know that was pressure on myself, and I was still busy trying to fix rather than accept. When I finished the program, I was definitely better. Hadn't got quite along as far as I'd like to have been. Now I would, if I was in a situation like that, I'd say to anyone else, get some coaching, get some one-on-one help, definitely. But I would say, I know people always ask me how long it takes to get out of chronic pain. And that really is not a question you can give an answer to. Months is the worst case scenario, maybe years, depending on how much work and accepting you've got to do and lifestyle things that might crop up. Personally, took me about a year to be able to do anything and everything I want to do. Best money I'd ever invested, I can honestly say that, after trying every potion and lotion on the internet. So that's obviously how I found SIRPA. And as I said, Lindsay and me, we did our training, and then we met up and we want to help lots of other people. There is so much more to all of this work, and no one person is going to be on the same journey as anybody else. Different things need working on, and lots of different things for different people, really. This is a little bit awkward, so I haven't got any questions coming up. So I will probably, I think in the link, links to my own page and to Lindsay's page should be in the comments at some point. Hopefully she will be able to put those up there. Anyone that I know that joined today, thank you very much. And I will just give Lindsay a couple more minutes to see if she does come back. If there are any questions, or you want any resources or any help, do leave comments, because they hopefully, this is being recorded, they should still come up, and hopefully we can get back to you a little bit later when I can see the comments, and I can get back to you, Lindsay can get back to you. And absolutely, very sorry the Lindsay's disappeared. So I will sign off now, and I shall say goodbye, I think, because it's a bit odd doing it without Lindsay. So thank you very much, everybody. And absolutely, feel free, any questions or comments, or directly me, Lindsay, through SIRPA, do write things down, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, can everyone hear me? I am so sorry, everybody. My internet completely and utterly failed. It never has before, but did now. Oh, hello. If anyone's still there, hello. I am so sorry. One thing about learning the SIRPA way of life is that you just have to accept when these things happen. As I said, we never, ever have a problem. Caroline's just calling me now. I'm live. Hello, Caroline. My internet went completely and utterly down, which it never does. But would you like me to invite you back in? If you could all bear with me, I'm going to invite Caroline back in. So please forgive me. I am incredibly sorry about this. Bear with. I'm just going to send an email to Caroline. Caroline, I'm so sorry. My internet completely went down, which it never does. We're just still live on Facebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send you another join me email. And if you click into that, we can get back in for the last few minutes. Yeah, no, it's fine. I got completely lost because my daughter sent me a message and she was like, oh, so-and-so's asked a question. I was thinking, but I thought it was you. Okay, well, if you click on the new email that I'm going to send you, you should be able to get back in. And if anyone else is still listening, we can finish off. All right, brilliant. All right, speak to you in a mo. Bye. Well, I am incredibly sorry, universe. I'm just going to have to email Caroline quickly and see if I can get her back in. So here we go. And then I will continue with our conversation as soon as I've done that. There we go. Hopefully that is going to work. If not, I might just have to wrap up. I'm so sorry, everybody. I think what we might have to do is abandon ship for today, because this obviously we've had a technical hitch, which is such a shame. I'm going to pop into the chat my details and Caroline's details, because if anybody here does have any specific questions, I really absolutely appreciate you joining, and you might well have had a question. So I'm going to pop these into the chat and I'm going to share it anyway. And if you have anything at all, I would encourage you just to reach out to us. And I'm going to put those in, and hopefully that will do the job. So I'm so sorry this was cut short. One of these things, as I said, I have been so blessed with my internet connection here. But if there's one thing that I've learned from this is that I can't change what happened. This is a big learning curve here on the SIRPA journey that I've been through. It happened. Unfortunate, but I really hope that you gained something, or we've at least been able to help you. And I wish you all the best for now. And maybe myself and Caroline will have another opportunity in the future to be able to come back and answer your queries. So all the best. Take good care. And I shall speak to you again soon, I hope. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.